The next question is in the name of Assembly Member Gavron, and it's about the welfare reform.
Thank you, Nicky. I believe that the transitional measures that we've negotiated are having a positive impact. I'm aware of the problem that we all saw the story in The Guardian a couple of weeks ago. What we're trying to do is assess the scale of that problem at the moment. But in the meantime, you know, the transitional measures that we negotiated are certainly having an effect. The extra cash for London, the delay, and so on.
Yes. The thing about the transitional arrangements is that they're just that, aren't they? They're transitional, and they can help people find, you know, give them a few months so they can find somewhere. But the situation now, and you referred to the Guardian story, which shows that, for those who don't know about this, that both Conservative and Labour boroughs, 17 of them, have said that they are having to move residents out of London because they cannot find rented accommodation in their boroughs, or indeed within London, that actually are beneath the housing benefit caps. And this is before we get on to the total benefit cap. Do you think you've always said people shouldn't move out of London. Do you think you've severely misjudged this situation?
No, what I said, if you'll remember, I never said that people shouldn't move out of London. That's completely untrue. What I have said is I didn't want to see a mass exodus. I used some colourful language. I didn't talk about Kosovo style.
I don't want to see such an exodus. It won't take place on my watch.
With convoys of saucepan-laden dog carts and so on. That is not going to happen. And what we are digging into is the scale of the problem. I think what most reasonable people will accept is that, and I think this is even Labour Party policy going into the 2010 election, is that it is when average salaries of incomes of 26,000 or less, it is reasonable to have a benefits cap of that order, and that is a lot of money to pay by anybody's standards. Where obviously there will be an impact, particularly in some of the more expensive parts of London where it's more expensive to rent. But we are doing what we can, as I said, to mitigate those impacts. The most important of which is that we are building more affordable homes, and we did a record number. We did a record number in the first term, and in spite of real difficulties in the market, which nobody should minimise, we are on target to do another record number. We think we can do another 55,000. So that is the way to tackle the problem in the long term. I mean, you know, you say I'm not opposed to movements either outside London or within London. It is natural. It is natural for there to be such moves.
If you've lost your job in Croydon, should you have to move to Hull? If you are on low paying rent, should you have to move to Hastings? This is an example from the last Mayor's Question Time, if you're a mental health nurse on 21,000 with a child in Westminster, should you have to move to bed and breakfast? Because this is what's happening.
Well, the numbers of people in bed and breakfast actually are about 5,000 fewer than they were 10 years ago in this city. And of course,
they're rising, aren't they now? They're rising high. Can I just say, you yourself said to Ian Duncan-Smith that 87% of the country's claimants who would be hardest hit are in London. The boroughs are saying that about 63,000 claimants are going to be very hard hit and will have to move out. And remember, a lot of these claimants are in work.
Nicky,
and there are 50,000 households with 3, 4 and 5 children. That's 180,000 children who will inevitably be hit by this. And I want to ask you, you've always said you've got very constructive, ongoing dialogue with government. You say the reforms are necessary, but
Well,
why
so does
don't
the
you,
Labour
wait a minute,
Party.
why
Do you
don't
not
you
say that?
recognise the
Do you not
impact
say
on
that?
London and ask, and this is the question, ask for a regional variation in the cap, in the caps? Why don't you ask that?
What we have asked for is that child-related benefits should be included in the cap, and that there should be some flexibility there. We haven't yet been successful in making
Sorry,
that.
I missed what you said. Child
should be excluded.
Child benefit should be excluded from the cap. In London or everywhere?
Yes, because of the particular difficulties faced by families in London.
That's the total benefit. What have you asked about that? I applaud that. What have you asked about the benefit?
In fact, not only do you applaud that, but you actually support the policy of the benefits, or you used to. Before, I mean, that was maybe...
We have always asked for a regional variation in the benefit caps and the total benefit cap. Now, here you are asking for a regional variation. What about the housing benefit caps? Are you asking for a regional variation in those?
Yes, well, as I say...
No, that's the total benefit cap you're talking about.
Well, when considering the impact of the housing benefit cap on London households, what we've argued for is a series of mitigations.
Yeah, but they're all transitional. They're just delaying the pay.
Including, Nicky, let us see. Actually, at the moment, I'm not convinced that we are seeing the Kosovo-style exodus that I warned against. And I think that yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. Which is the language that I use. Yes, it is true that councils are seeing whether they can find accommodation elsewhere, but to be, we need to dig into the numbers, and we need to work out what we can do to protect the most vulnerable families, and that is what we're determined to do.
Assembly Member Gavron, I'm so sorry to break up this really good exchange, but you're out of time.
So am I.